What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Light Source Engraving, and today we're going to engrave or mark or anneal, however you want to phrase it, a knife with the laserMATIC Mark II 30-watt diode. So we will be using a diode to mark some stainless steel. So I'm not going to waste too much time. Let's just get ready to mark. Not this knife. This is my unboxing knife. Let's mark this knife. So I'm going to cut the tape so you can see that we have a brand new full tang short skinner knife, and it does say that it is a stainless steel blade. Let me get it out of the package here. Here it is in the package. Here's the little sheath. It's wrapped in plastic. Still has the little tip on the blade. We are going to turn this, see that nice and shiny steel, into this. This was done with the laserMATIC, both sides. Let me get you a little bit closer. And we have a nice dark anneal that we can see on all sides. It looks very nice. I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing you need to know is how to align your camera. So I'm going to assume that you already have your LightBurn camera aligned. I'm going to use the camera to help with positioning of the graphics and to make the template for the little flag that I inset into the knife blade template. So if you don't have your camera aligned, let me know if you need a video on that and I can make another video. I do have a video from it's been over a year ago on LightBurn camera alignment, and it's not just galvo laser, it works for any laser, so you can still use that to align your camera. Then there's also a very good video posted in the laserMATIC Facebook group on aligning your camera. But since this knife is going to be raised up a little bit off of the jig table, that means the camera needs to be aligned to that height, not the height of the jig table. That being said, let's just go into LightBurn and start making our template for this knife blade. As you can see, I do have my LightBurn camera aligned, and I just manually aligned it from the camera control with shifting the X and Y and then making sure the size was appropriate. That's why I'm not seeing the whole overlay, but that's just temporary until we get the knife template made and then the knives engraved. Then you can take it back to your regular alignment for your jig table or honeycomb or whatever you are using. What we want to do is make a template of this blade so that we can then cut out a flag graphic to inset right onto the knife blade. Okay, what I'm going to do is select the red layer so that whenever I'm drawing this template, it will be easier for you to see. And then I'm going to select the pen tool. And you'll notice with the pen tool, if you just click, it makes straight lines. And you can make straight lines wherever you want. If you click and drag, you can make curved lines. If you click and drag, you can then make nice curved lines for your templates. So let's get started making our template. And if you hold shift down, you will get a straight line. So there's a straight line, and if you wanted a perfectly straight line, it's snapping to the grid. So I'm going to turn snap to grid off, then hit OK, and now it'll let me place it wherever I want, not just the grid lines. So it's got a little angle to it, so we'll put here, and then now we can start making our curves. So click and drag and just try to fit that curve right to the curve of the blade. Then press the space bar and you can move around the screen. You can hit Control Z and go back, and then pick back up where you left off just by hovering back over that point. So let's say we're here again. Now we're going to click and drag. There, clicking and dragging, clicking and drag, click and drag. Then how much you drag and where you move your mouse depends on the curve that you get. Alright, so now I'm going to go just to a point there. And then from here we can click and then drag and get that line to come right over blade. Now normally, if this wasn't going to be just for a decorative piece, I would not take the engraving all the way to the blade. However, for this decorative piece, I am going to do that. And click and drag, and you can add a little curve. And from here, you can add a little curve. And the more you pull point out, the more curve you get. So then this is looking pretty good. So let's just click and drag, and then we could hit that. And then this looks pretty straight over to here. What we want to do is join these two up. All right, here we go. Here. And then we'll go here. And then go to our select tool. I'm going to make this now fill. And window, we will look at the filled smooth, but that's no problem. Because sometimes you need to go back and fix your points anyway. And what I wanted to show you with this, especially this one down here, let's say we want it curved. So if we go to our node edit, we can actually hover over this node and click S, and we can smooth it out. And then you can use these handles to make it look however you want to. So I can just even move this in a little bit closer and give that kind of a nice little curve instead of that point. And then same thing here, we can actually move this node right over top of the end of that one. Then let's come back down here. See why these didn't connect. Yep, those look like they should be connected. Alright, so now you see that we have two different shapes here because they did not auto join, but I have those nodes over top of each other at the ends. I'm going to select both shapes and then go to edit and then auto join selected shapes, and it should convert those into one shape. Then edit, close path. So now those are joined and closed. So we have one solid shape. And now I'm going to go take this shape and convert it to a tool path. So it is now orange. That does make it harder to see. However, you will be able to see it in just a moment. So here's our orange template. And now we want to add this graphic, our wavy flag, to the project. And I'm going to change the color of it to green. So there it is in green. And then let's just go ahead and shrink it down to about the same width as our template. And then we want to put the template drawing over top of the green layer. So all we have to do is come over to our cuts and layers and make the orange at the bottom. Now the orange is drawing over top of our green layer. So now we can see, we can move it around, you can see that the orange layer is definitely over top. Now we get an idea of, once we cut this out, how it's going to look. I think that looks good. And then I'm going to try to position it so that the engraving actually stays away. So you see here, kind of stays away from the edge of the knife blade most of the way down there. So we'll go with that, see how it looks. Select the graphic first, then select your toolpath. Once both of those are selected, you can go to Tools and Cut Shapes. Sorry, this is showing up on my other screen, but once I went to Tools and then Cut Shapes, deselect it, and now when you select, you'll see that there are actually two different shapes here. And it's easier to see if we go to the wireframe. See that these are selected. It's outside of the shape of the knife, and what's inside was not selected. So now there's one shape, and here's the second. So now we can select the second shape on the outside, hit delete, and we have our stars and bars inside of our knife blade. So we can go back to window and field smooth, and there is our graphic. And just like that, we've got a template cut to size to put on our knife blade. And at this point, we are ready to engrave. So do your best to get this thing lined up and framed. And then what we want to do is I'm going to hide this one. I'm going to show you my black layer that I already have set up with settings. And let's bring that up on screen. For the laserMATIC Mark II 30-watt module, I'm using a speed of 560, power of 94, line interval of 0.1. I am using air assist as it helps keep, if you're using thinner metals, it'll help keep it from warping, although this is a lot of power and slow speed, so thin business cards and thin steel, that will warp with these settings. This is meant more for thicker steel like the knife blade. But before you start the job, there's one other thing we have to do. We have to head to our console. All right, I have now turned on the laserMATIC, so you can probably hear a little bit of noise in the background. And what we want to do is set the frequency that the laser is operating at. And the stock frequency is 10,000. We're going to change it to 1,000. So we're going to run at a lower frequency to do this annealing of the steel. And to change the frequency, we use the $28 command. So $28, then the equal sign, and then 1,000. Hit enter, and it will change the frequency at which the laser is operating. Now, do not forget to $28 equals 10,000 once you're finished engraving your steel. So when you're moving back to wood or any other material, head back to 10,000. If you want to experiment, you can run any frequency in between there and see if you get different results on different materials. So we are now at a frequency of 1,000. Some firmware will not let you change the frequency at which the laser operates. If that's the case, just experiment, run some tests with your stock frequency and see how it goes. But just remember to anneal the steel. We're going to have to heat it up, and that's going to run at slow speed, high power. You have the laserMATIC 20. You are going to want to decrease your speed by 30%. So approximately 400 would be your speed. If you have a 10 watt, you're going to decrease the speed by approximately 65%. So just adjust your speed accordingly and experiment to see how at what settings you get your best results. Go back to the console. Remember, that is $28 equals 1,000. And then to put it back to your regular frequency, $28 equals 10,000. And then just make sure it says OK, and then you'll know that the setting has been saved. So let's go back to $28 equals 1,000. Hit enter. No, we are in good shape. I do want you to notice that even though that blade is a lot lower than the scales, there's still enough clearance to run this job in focus. So I did run the job in focus. It was was in focus to the highest point on the focus guide that comes with your laserMATIC. If you need to be closer to the material to be in focus with your laser, then just set your laser at the height where it clears the scales. Because I do run 2.5% overscan. Just have to experiment a little bit running your laser out of focus. It could yield different colors, different results, but experiment and you might find something really cool. So at this point, I'm going to home the laserMATIC, since I just moved it, to show you that it barely clears, but it does clear. So let's go home. Now I'm going to run a rubber band frame. One important point that I forgot to mention is that before you use your toolpath to cut out the shape of the flag or whatever graphic you have, you want to make a copy of it because you will need it later. The reason you want a copy is so you can set it right over top of your graphic and get that lined up. Then, once you have your toolpath over top of your graphic, use that for framing. You want to always keep a copy of your template so you can use it for framing, whether it's a galvo laser or a diode laser, either way. So now I'm just going to run a quick rubber band frame using that tool layer, and we'll see it curve around the shape of the blade. I'll run that again. So that does look good. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and run this job. I do have my $28 equals 1000 activated. Have my setting ready to go. I'm going to select my graphic, and here we go. And you will notice that it does throw some sparks. And we get a nice deep black mark. One thing I will do is leave one of these knives in the basement, and we'll wait and see if it happens to develop any rust, but so far I don't think it's going to. And this engrave does take approximately 20 minutes, so at this point we're just going to fast forward through the rest of it. Okay, you can see that knife looks pretty good. However, there are some kind of jagged edges around some of the flag wavy bars, and how we fix that is a very simple change. Switch your setting to line and run it. By running this line, it will smooth out those edges and create the look that is in the knife in the thumbnail and the knife that I showed you on screen earlier. So we'll take this knife off and take a look at it. Now, one thing I do want to advise is once you get your knife off of the laser, give it a coating of oil, whatever oil you have laying around, whether it's 3-in-1 oil, gun oil, rim oil. Just get some oil on it and rub it with either a microfiber or a magic eraser. Magic erasers work great. Give it a good scrubbing, get all the bits off of it that are left over. Because you can see it is generating a little bit of spark while it was engraving. And there's some more spark. So there will be some dust on it. This gives you a nice clean edge on that mark. You could even see it just in that video, bringing out more definition along those stars and bars. And then once that is complete, then we are done. Now it does have a little bit of a brown tint to it, but that's going to come off as soon as I clean it, because that brown stuff is going to wipe right off. So let me just jump cut over to a clean knife. All right, here's the knife we just finished. See, nothing on one side, and here's the finished side. And here's the knife from earlier. Put those side by side. Now, I cannot recommend enough, make your template back from the edge of the knife a couple millimeters. You don't really want to engrave around the sharpened edge. However, these are going to be just for display purposes, so I'm not concerned with the longevity of the steel, but it can mess with the heat treatment on those really thin edges. But overall, I'm very impressed from our 30-watt diode. No polishing, just wiped it down with oil and a microfiber. So just to recap, $28 equals 1,000, then change it back to 10,000 once you are done engraving your steel. Don't forget to make a copy of your template after you have made it for your knife blade, because you will need it for framing. And in general, that's all I have for you today. I hope you really enjoyed this one. I'm super impressed how well this laser is able to mark this knife. And I even took this one and used some of the lower grit polish to see if it would have any effect, and there was no effect at all. This is on there to stay. It's not going to rub off. This was not done with any marking spray, just the laserMATIC 30-watt in steel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. Please click the like button, subscribe, share it on your socials if you think this video will benefit other folks. I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you, patrons. I gotta thank my patrons for their support and allowing me to buy these testing materials like these little knives so that I can test, engrave, and work on more videos for you guys. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if it helps you out. If you've made a project, please post it on the Laser Makers Realm Facebook group. Just search Laser Makers Realm and join the group. Post pictures of your products. We'd love to see them. And most importantly, folks, have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.